Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Act 2 for Season of Daybreak. I'm not sure why these cards say the same thing, but considering we had an extra hour and a half of maintenance this morning, there is no telling. As you can see, we've officially swapped to Arc Solar, so the majority of shields are going to be Arc Shields with some Solar Shields. In the Season of Daybreak Ingram, you'll notice there are 3 new weapon ornaments for the Trinity Ghoul. If you play Destiny 2, you may recognize this weapon. It is an AoE arc bow. Fires an arrow that splits when released. Precision kills grant the next shot chain lightning capabilities. The catalyst says lightning rod triggers from any final blows made using this weapon or arc abilities. So this bow is just going to be doing a lot of AoE. It is also, just like the Furies, going to be the Battle Pass weapon. So you're going to get your first copy at level 10 and your second copy at level 50. You can get an ornament from Premium just like the Furies. If we look at the Battle Pass exchange shop, you can buy your copies of this weapon, be able to max it out just like the Furies. And if you missed the Furies last season, you can still buy more copies, it looks like down here. The other exotic option for Helhest is going to be the Royal Contravene. It has 2 perks in one that toggles between the different sights. Its first sight, Combat Sight, fires a 3-round burst with consecutive hits, further reducing charge time, so it's going to shoot faster. And Marksman Sights, long range sights with slower charge time and greater damage. Fires a single precision arc bolt that chains to nearby targets and blinds them on hit. And there's some stuff about what it displays on your HUD while you're aimed in as well. Catalyst is going to allow this weapon to refill from reserves based on the number of hits. And we can take a look at those options real quick. Go into first person for this. So this is the burst mode. If you look in the bottom left right now, you'll see I'll get ammo back. So it's a bit of a self-reloading fusion rifle, just like the Queenbreaker, if you're familiar. And here is the long-range sight, the charged mode. And this one will also reload. The Trinity Ghoul versus the Royal Contravene. What do we want to put our resources into? My personal opinion, based on past history of characters and weapons so far, I think we've seen a pretty noticeable trend that the exotic heavy weapons are typically better than their primary counterparts. Some notable exceptions being the Concerto on Gwen versus the Octant. Some people debate that one. I think the Mythic Shotgun is good enough to run with Concerto, and it's better than the Octant, especially considering the Octant is harder to get. And this being a Battle Pass weapon, I kind of think it's a little bit of a bait, just like the Furies. I really think the Queenbreaker is going to be the best. That being said, for their mythic counterparts, there is only one mythic bow, Yoshimoto. If we take a look at its traits and perks, we have Archer's Tempo, reducing the draw time after you get precision hit, and Bouldering Support, where your primary gains additional damage as you run out of heavy ammo, which we'll take a look at later. This is not a good perk. And Annihilation, our favorite, doing more damage when they get low. Perk slot 2 is going to have Black Body. Final Blows give you more damage. Stacks up to 5 times. Shiver. Precision Final Blows grant extra precision damage and more accuracy, stacks up to 3 times. And Ensured Yields. Final Blows grant the next magazine additional damage after reloading. If you don't make a final blow, you gain additional damage, but less damage. One thing you may have noticed they've changed, perks that have perk upgrades now have a gold border around them, and perks that do not say that this perk cannot be currently upgraded. So in terms of exotic mods, when they roll a random trait upgrade, this has an applicable mod that can roll it. This does not. Despite not actually having the perk upgrade itself, you're also missing out on a little bit additional power, around 100 or so, if you are trying to really min-max your power. So that being said, there may be a debate between Archer Tempo and Annihilation. I personally think that Annihilation Ensured Yields is going to be the way to go on this bow. Now for Linear Fusion Rifle, end of the line, also the only mythic option here, has some really good perks. Firing line, I do not recommend. Not only does it not have a perk upgrade, but it has a certain scenario that is not reliable to pull off unless you're in a fire team. And if you're working around this, I can't say you're probably doing anything super optimal, especially in the terms of speed. Fraternity, the tried and true, this is a very good perk. It's also the only perk in the slot that has a perk upgrade available, which automatically makes this perk a little bit worse than Fraternity. It is like Fraternity, but you're getting, what is it, 7% more damage, but it has an extra stipulation on it and no upgrade. I think Fraternity is definitely the way to go here. And perk 2 is where it gets really interesting. Searing Mark is almost on the level of Allocation Vector, if you're familiar with that perk. Precision hits grant the next round fired within 5 seconds 12% more precision damage, and it stacks up to 5 times. The last round in the magazine deals up to 250% more precision damage based on the number of stacks held. And the perk upgrade, landing precision hits on bosses and powerful combatants, adds 2 stacks. Your other options are Shiver, precision final blows grant precision damage bonus and 10% accuracy, and Black Body, another damage stacking over time perk. Similar to Glutton, slightly different. Does have a perk upgrade. This isn't a bad perk. The only downside is any kind of content that has rounds, notably the Expanse or Morgan's Prey. You're going to lose your stacks in between those rounds. Other than that, they're not bad perks. I definitely think Searing Mark is by far the best perk. This is a crazy amount of extra damage. I don't currently have it on one of my weapons, but I just had one of my friends test it. It gets pretty close to keeping up with World Contravene. Mine isn't maxed out. His end of the line is not maxed out, so I can't do any absolute max testing. But I can say, after you get this 20% extra precision damage band, and then if you just take a look at all the weapon hit damage bonuses, 6, 8, 8, 8, and 8. I think the Rule of Contravene is going to have more total damage, especially with the self-reloading effect from the Catalyst. But I don't think that the Yoshimoto is going to be anywhere near as good as Trinity Ghoul. So what are my final thoughts on the exotics you should be looking at for Helhest? I personally think that, especially in the most recent in-game content like Calamity, the recent Morgan's Prey event, I don't think we use primaries as much as we think we do. Trinity Goal being primarily focused on ad clear, I think there's already so much ad clear in this game. I don't think Helhest has good ad clear without Trinity Goal, but in an arc category as a support character, double precision, I just don't see this getting a ton of value. If you look at characters like Ning Fei, he has a lot of ad clear. Stella has decent ad clear if your Q bounces between the targets. Tan's Fireball is pretty decent. Gwen has ad clear. Yolder has some ad clear. Wolf has ad clear. I guess Vanilla kinda does, but is she a real character? Vanilla kinda has some ad clear with her Q. Emiko's another support precision character. Vital's a support precision character. And we do not talk about these two characters. So I just don't see a lot of value coming from ad clear specifically. We'll have to test some damage numbers later on, but if we take a quick look at some base numbers, 254 DPS, 519 damage, 1.8 precision bonus, and let's look at a stock Yoshimoto, slightly less DPS, slightly less damage. So that's pretty typical. The exotic has better base stats. So I do think Trinity Goal will be way better than the Yoshimoto, even though End of the Line is much closer to the Royal Contravene than the Yoshimoto. I think will be to Trinity Ghoul. I'm still not sold that Trinity Ghoul will be as good as they want us to think it is. But I will test this weapon in the future video, and we'll get to the bottom of this. My current standpoint is I think Royal Contravene is the way to go. Now let's look at relic abilities. I'm going to warn you ahead of time. Her relic abilities are absolute paragraphs, so stay with me on this. For her passive ability, data conversion, when boosting or healing drones, going forward, I'm just going to refer to this as drones. Buff or heal allies, they will also grant the assisted calculation effect for 20 seconds. And Helhest herself will always have this effect. What is assisted calculation? Dealing damage to combatants also inflicts data analysis. So already we're like 3 keywords deep and we don't even have any clue what's going on. So let's break it down. Data analysis, when afflicted combatants are defeated, they will drop 1 data fragment. Again, another keyword, which can stay on the ground for up to 60 seconds. Data fragment. Once data fragments are generated, they will be automatically absorbed by the nearest drone, then uploaded to Helhest's prosthetic to power her encrypted network. The efficiency it absorbs, blah, 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 blah. The encrypted network can store up to 48 data fragments. When the encrypted network has accumulated more than 24, Helhest can interact with the drones and consume 24 fragments to provide allies within a 70-meter radius with 1 heavy ammo brick. Okay, what does this mean? When the drones apply their buff or heal to allies or Helhast already has this effect, assisted calculation, it causes you to inflict enemies with a status condition. The status condition is data analysis. Data analysis causes combatants to drop a data fragment when they are defeated. Once you have a certain amount of data fragments, aka 24, your drones will generate a heavy ammo brick. So, simplify it one more time. Hellhash generates heavy ammo from her drones by killing enemies. Alright, signature 1, rapid deployment. This is going to be her boost drone and her healing drone. Hellhash deploys a drone 5 meters in front of her. After deployment, the drone will be launched to the target location and hover in the air for 80 seconds. So her drones last for 80 seconds. They do not move, they are stationary. There are 2 types of drones, boosting drone and healing drone. Only one of each type can be present at a time, so you can have 1 boost drone and 1 healing drone. If you cast the ability again, it will increase the drone's level up to level 2. For the boosting drone, it will basically give a damage boost buff once every 1 second within a 10-meter radius, and it grants them, at this level, 5.57% damage bonus for 20 seconds. Healing drone, 10-meter radius, healing over time, so keep that in mind for artifacts, or 74 health per second. So this stuff obviously increases with the relic ability level. Drones come with an auto fire module. Once every 4 seconds, they will fire 1 arc projectile at a combatant within a 70-meter radius. Elhas can use weapon shots to change the target, dealing X amount of arc damage. So this is pretty similar to Atal's little mini shots, and the targeting is based on what you're shooting with your weapon. Drones will automatically be recalled once they are more than 50 meters away from Hellhast, restoring energy for rapid deployment based on their remaining duration and level at the time of recall. This ability starts with 2 charges. So since they're stationary, you get a bit of refund on the cooldown if you get outside of range for your drones, which, unless you're in a mini boss or boss phase, you'll probably continue moving. You'll probably stand in it while you're fighting, walk away, and you should be getting your ability back not too long after. Then let's look at Signature 2, Salvo. She activates her prosthetic, launching a volley at the reticle's position and gaining 3 stack of the salvo effect. When the volley is fired, Hellhast's prosthetic and all mini drones on the battlefield will fire 1 arc projectile at the reticle position, exploding and dealing arc damage within a 6-meter radius. If the max number of drones haven't been deployed, the projectile that's fired will gain a damage bonus, dealing up to an additional X amount of arc damage. So it actually looks like having 1 drone on the field does more damage than 2 drones on the field. Because if all drones fire 1 projectile doing this much damage, this is currently 226, whereas you fire it from 1 drone, you gain X amount bonus, which is currently 678. Those are interesting numbers, probably subject to change as the level increases. The arc projectiles, her prosthetic launches, inflict confined for 3 seconds when they explode. Confined renders the combatants immobile. So we have our first root in a sense. It's called confined. The boosting drone inflicts arc residue, and the healing drone inflicts arc recovery to an ally within a 70-meter radius with the lowest health. So arc residue is a damage over time, X amount of arc damage per second, stacks 4 times. Arc recovery is a healing over time, stacks 4 times. So you're going to want to use your salvo after you've put your drones down. Keep in mind that this will inflict a confined debuff that will be important for artifacts later. And her super. The super is going to summon a super drone to the battlefield. It lasts for 16 seconds. It will move around with her. While the super drone is present, it increases the bonuses for each of the drones by 300%, so it makes them much, much stronger. And the super drone will continuously mark the nearest combatant within a 70-meter radius. Once again, Helhest can move the mark by firing her weapons and fire 20 arc rockets at them at once every 2 seconds. Each rocket deals X amount of arc damage. Additionally, the super drone will link to the ally with the lowest health within range, restoring X amount of health per second, what appears to be a lot of health per second. When the drone is summoned, it will immediately trigger an auto fire attack from the drones on the field. Afterwards, it will reduce the firing interval of their auto attacks by 50%. So immediately when you summon it, there's going to be a bit of a burst and then it will slow down. Let's look at our weapon mastery. Overclock shot. Casting salvo grants the overclock shot effect for 6 seconds. This shortens the bow draw time and linear fusion charge time by 50%, so it cuts it in half. Shots that hit the combatant also deal an extra 15% arc damage. Additionally, when it's active, it grants a weak spot lock on within a small range while aiming down sights. This does not take effect against light bearers. So, what is this weapon mastery doing? When you use salvo, your signature 2, it immediately procs your weapon mastery, and it's going to make your weapons shoot twice as fast, and they'll take 15% more arc damage. It would appear that you also have a little bit of aim assist, weak spot lock on within a small range, so it should be easier to hit those precision shots with your bow and linear fusion rifle. As we go down the levels, we see additional damage increase, additional damage increase. So level 4, when Helhest has salvo stacks, she is also considered to have the overclocked shot effect, making linear fusion rifle shots fired reload 1 round from reserves. So this would appear that it extends this effect, as this is casting salvo grants the effect for 6 seconds. This is just having the stack, and then more additional damage. So right off the bat, unless you're going for power, I wouldn't say this is a really high priority weapon mastery 5 character. It's only a 10% boost. This is going to be 8 incandescent clusters, which is a pretty high price. I think there are other characters that have much better level 5s. I would say level 4 is really good though, and that's not too hard to achieve. All right, Helhest Relic Trait 1. Deploying or upgrading a drone increases the damage bonus or healing potency of the drones on the field by 200% for 4 seconds. Repeatedly applying this effect extends the duration. This trait will not take effect while the super drone is present. Remember, the super drone does the same effect, but 300%. So it's saying that these just don't stack. So basically, if you use this ability again while you have drones, it's just going to make current drones 200% stronger for 4 seconds. Relic Trait 2, Breakneck Collaborator. Allies, including Helhest herself, gained 40% movement speed while within the range of the drones. This effect lasts for 8 seconds after leaving the drone's range. Post commentary here. Yeah, this relic trait is very good. It's almost a permanent 40% movement speed boost because the drones give you back charge when you leave 50 meters. So, very, very fast. And Relic Trait 3 highlights. Releasing the super drone upgrades the drone present to max level and refreshes their duration. Additionally, any drone deployed during this period will be upgraded to its max level. Now let's look at talent tree. How much money does NetEase want us to spend to use this character? Level 1. Rapid deployment has 3 charges, so pretty standard from what we've seen from a lot of characters. First 1 or 2 levels gives you an extra charge on an ability. Do keep in mind that you can still only deploy 1 of each drone, but when the charges are at max and you deploy a drone, the drone will directly be upgraded to its maximum level. Bit of a buff, I wouldn't say it is very game changing. Level 2. While there are combatants inflicted with Helhest's own data analysis present, the encrypted network automatically generates 1 data fragment every 15 seconds. So basically, this is just going to mean you're getting more data fragments, so you're going to be generating heavy ammo quicker. I'm not too sure why heavy ammo generation seems to be such an essential part of this kit. I personally don't think we have that bad of a heavy ammo shortage. There are some events where you can run low on heavy ammo, but I think the heavy ammo drops are relatively generous, at least so far. So we'll see in a future date if this heavy ammo generation is going to have a huge effect on some of the in-game content. Perhaps for more future raid content or six-man content. Level 3, overclock shots damage is increased by additional 20%. So you can see there's a theme here of making that weapon mastery do a lot more damage. Level 4 reduces the data fragments quantity needed to airdrop a heavy ammo brick to 16. So you're getting an 8-point reduction here from 24 to 16. I do not think this is an essential perk. Level 5, the number of salvo stacks granted after casting the salvo ability is increased to 6. So you're getting a 3-point increase. It's effectively doubling it. This does not really take effect until Weapon Mastery 4. It does give you just more stacks in general. So you are going to have that buff for 3 more shots. But once again, I don't think this is going to change the character too much. It's not going to change any of the core gameplay mechanics. It is a small buff. I don't think it's a big enough buff for 5 copies of the character, though. And level 6. Do I need to max this character? Level 6 boost the drone's max level to 3. And level 3 increases the effective radius of the drones by 50%. So it's just going to make your drones stronger and have a bigger radius. Additionally, when firing weapons to direct level 3 drones to fire volleys, they will deal an additional instance of arc damage equal to 50% of the fired weapon's damage. This perk right here is just going to make your drones actually do some damage. 50% of the fired weapon's damage is not too shabby, especially if you have the super drone out and you have that initial burst of volleys. I can't say I'm impressed though. She's obviously a support character. I don't think she's going to have crazy damage numbers. Seems like her gimmick is having sustained damage boost and healing. I definitely think she's in the running for one of the better support characters. I think double precision is pretty interesting considering all of the support characters are double precision right now. It is interesting though that she's a buff and heal character, and she does have debuffs in the terms of confinement. And I personally will not be attempting to max this character. I do not think they're going to break any of the current metas, and I don't think we're going to see anything out of the unordinary that isn't bug related. I think she's a good character. I think she'll really shine, especially if we get any new raid content. I think she'll be really solid. But I do not see her dethroning Ning for sure. I think Ning is still absolutely fine. I don't think the crossbow nerf to Shinka precision damage is really that big of an impact. I think we'd probably run a precision character in the fire team anyway. And I still think, honestly, it's probably going to do good enough damage. Let's look at some artifact recommendations. I actually think they did a pretty decent job on the recommended artifacts for this character. I took a brief look earlier. I do think Inspiring Axion is a pretty good artifact here. The wielder takes 11% less damage from sources more than 15 meters away. Keyword both, healing over time, and ally damage bonus effects. But basically, if you're within range of both of your drones, you're going to take 11% less damage from sources more than 15 meters away. I don't think this is a crazy perk. It's pretty specific. You need to be affected by both of your drones, and it's 11% less damage from sources that are more than 15 meters away. So it's not going to help against any melee enemies at all. But being a precision support character, you're probably going to be staying at range anyway. So it's not too bad. I think Wording Pact is a little bit of a bait on Helhest is you're really only going to have 2 summons at a time, so you're really only going to be getting 2 out of 3 stacks here. You do get 3 stacks with your super, I guess, but I think this damage resistance is probably more consistent than the Warding Pact, because if you have your 2 drones out anyway to trigger this, you'll be able to trigger Inspiring Axion as well. Is Ring of Abundance worth using? Ring of Abundance may be worth using depending on your second artifact. For the second artifact slot, we have Resonating Axion. When the wielder is healed over time by their own abilities, healing received is increased by 4.2% for 6 seconds, stacks 5 times. Take less damage when your health is below a certain threshold, and Ring of Conversion. I haven't mentioned this in a video yet, but I think Ring of Conversion is probably one of the best artifacts. It allows you to convert Overflow Healing directly into Overshield. This allows you to have Overshield on so many characters that have no way of generating Overshield. It's super good on Estella, it's good on Tan 2. Any character that can generate some amount of healing from either their abilities or other artifacts, Ring of Conversion is super good on. I highly, highly recommend this artifact. If you take Ring of Conversion, I think you can potentially take Ring of Abundance, because this is just going to be increasing your total healing and overshield received. So your initial healing over time is going to be bigger, and that healing over time is going to be generating overshields from Ring of Conversion, and that itself will be increased as well. If you would rather have damage reduction, I think Inspiring Axion is fine. I think Ring of Abundance is still pretty good. I will say, I think in some of the most difficult content we currently have, damage resistance or damage reduction is stronger than having just more healing and overshield. Because if you're going to get one shot, healing and overshield doesn't matter. We'll see if Inspiring Axion is better than Ring of Abundance. I think it's going to be close. I do think Inspiring Axion has a bit of an edge just because I think damage reduction is so strong right now. But I do think Ring of Conversion is better than Resonating Axion. I think this is good. I just think it's kind of slow, and all it is a healing increase. I think being able to get some of that healing for Overshield is pretty good, considering not only do you have to have your shield broken, but also you have to be missing health for this to really have much impact. This has impact no matter what state of the game you're in. For Artifact Slot 3, we have United Axion, deal 49% weapon damage while affected by allied damage bonus effects. Calming Shot, shots fired while stationary, grant accuracy and precision damage, and Inverted Fury, gain damage while shielded. I think United Axion is a clear winner here. As a straight up weapon damage bonus, I think the majority of Helhest damage is going to be coming from her weapons, not necessarily her summons or drones. And I think getting extra damage while you're affected by your boost drone is pretty easy to accomplish, considering you're going to want it down at a time you're going to want more weapon damage anyway. Just using your boost drone effectively is just going to give you even more weapon damage bonus. And for Artifact 4, we have Confined Axion, Hawkeye Token, and Bellicose Plantisimal. Confined Axion is when a combatant is confined. Remember that the arc projectiles launched by Helhest Prosthetic inflicts confined. So you're going to be triggering this using salvo. Will cause the combatants to take higher long range weapon damage from the wielder for the next 10 seconds. They'll take 12.6% damage at range of more than 20 meters and 20.3% damage at a range of more than 30 meters. So basically, when you use your salvo and it hits an enemy and confines them, they're going to take more damage based on how far away you are. Then your other options are Hawkeye Token. When hitting targets more than 20 meters away, weapons deal higher damage based on how far away they are. So this is really the same trigger for Confined Axiom, except you just need to use your salvo first. And it looks like it has better damage ratios. And I don't think casting your signature abilities to gain weapon damage is going to be nearly as good. It has a worse ratio, and there's not really any abilities you're going to be spamming on Helhest except maybe Salvo. But if you're going to be spamming Salvo, you're going to trigger Confined Axiom anyway. All right, so that's my initial thoughts and first impressions, all the way from the exotic weapons to Helhest kit and potential artifacts to run. I think we'll see her join six-man content, specifically raids alongside Tan and Umiko potentially as another buff. But in terms of three-man content, I'm not too sure we'll see her too much. If you're a Trinity Ghoul fan, or whether you agree or disagree with anything I mentioned in the video, please let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe as I'm working on a Rossi 11 video right now. I will also be covering how to farm break-in quickly using a bridge skip so you can get those crossbows for Rossi 11 or Ningfei if you haven't already. Other than that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.